Agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
The heat of the summer is upon us. I've got a package. I've got a package of Gulp Helgramites in the trunk. And tomorrow, early, super early, I'm heading out into the smallmouth and catfish-infested waters of the James River to see if I can't not make something happen with rod and reel. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Welcome in, it's James Walton with the I Am Liberty Show. Thank you for joining me. To the new listeners out there, thank you so much. I don't know if the old listeners have brought the new listeners or if the new listeners have happened in here, on their own. But we've seen a growth in numbers, on downloads that I'm very happy about, and I thank you. That's what happens when friends tell their friends, tell their friends, tell their friends, tell their friends. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, the whole thing. You can follow me on Twitter at I Am Liberty Show. I usually do a daily question on the weekdays about topics of the day or topics on my mind. And if you're looking for a sort of cogent representation of what this show's about, I apologize. We spend a lot of time on the condition of America, the condition of the human being. We spend a lot of time on preparedness topics, and if you listen to my live show every Wednesday at prepperbroadcasting.com, that's every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at prepperbroadcasting.com. Yeah, we stay pretty prepper-centric there. We stay pretty self-reliant, self-sufficient on that podcast because of where it is and what it's, the network that it's on. But as for these shows that you might be getting off Stitcher or iTunes or however you get it, YouTube, it's different. It's the meanderings of my own mind. Now, I did a show not long ago about Illinois and the condition of that state. And I had so much fun looking into Illinois, not because it's fun, but because it's the idea that we have these microcosms, these little tiny governments, these little tiny versions of America, these states. And you don't think about it that way because you live in a state, but that's really what it is. And some of them are failing. Some of them are tanking. And one of the topics I want to discuss today is just that. It's the nation's richest state of Connecticut that is somehow falling apart. It's somehow falling apart financially. It's not a great mystery. Once we get into the topic, you'll completely understand, but it's just one of those great topics because what it does is it speaks to how much the world has changed and how much it's continuing to change, what a global economy is doing to the world, right? What places like Amazon are doing to the world, and what more efficiency and more efficiency and more efficiency are doing to a workforce and convenience. You'd like to sit down and say to yourself, man, I sure would. I sure hate capitalism. All they care about is making a buck and efficiency, and they cut jobs and, people are numbers. Well, here's the truth about that. You want cheaper stuff, right? Yes or no? Do you want cheaper stuff? Cheaper gas, cheaper toys, cheaper electronics, cheaper, whatever. Well, the way that cheaper happens is you have to cut labor, you have to cut shipping costs, you have to cut packaging, you have to all that. You have to cut the overhead. So businesses are learning how to do that. And, so a lot of that it breaks down to people losing their jobs. And we all talked about, well, we'll get into it later. It is what I want to talk about. Connecticut's a big deal. It's another state that is floundering, and we need to talk about these states that are floundering because they have to come back. There's no nation that can exist full of failed states. And that's a nerve-wracking one. And it's also an interesting one because of the dichotomy that is, the left wing believes it's that the rich, because there's tons of rich people, they have the Gold Coast, the rich aren't paying their fair share, and the right wing believes that people are being taxed too much, so they're hitting the road. It's very interesting. The issues in Connecticut speak to issues over the whole entire nation in the same way that the issues in Illinois do. They speak to the trajectory of the nation and how it could all wind up if we're not careful. What else is on my mind? The topic of deserving is big on my mind. It's very big on my mind today, deserving. I've been really thinking about this idea that I deserve to lay on the couch, and I deserve to sit down, and I deserve to take a break, and I deserve to have a beer, and I deserve to have this. And I've been thinking about how detrimental deserving is. And I want to talk about that as well. And how I'd like you to think about this idea of deserving things. Do you really deserve anything? And what does that mindset do to you, right? Does it help to feel as though you deserve something, or does it hurt you? We'll discuss it. But the topic I want to kick the show off with is King Christie. I think we have to talk about big fat King Christie. And I don't care what kind of an explanation you give me for what he did. King Christie in New Jersey. You know who I'm talking about. The fat man on the beached sea lion up there. He closed down the national park beach. Made sure nobody was on the beach. And then he decided to bring his family on the beach that he shut down. King Christie brought the royal family onto the beach. I mean, this is a story that is getting airtime, but things need to happen now to this man. The last I saw, King Christie's going to wind up with a radio show for this. Not for this, but, for being outspoken and being a big fat load, which is what he is. There's no getting around it. You believe this guy almost ran for president? Overweight, out of shape. What? You have a man who's like literally in the process of killing himself with food. He's shoveling so much. He's such a king. There are men that are built like kings. You know that? There really are. The fat, slobby, can't control themselves, and entitled. I mean, there's a level of entitlement to what he did that is so beyond anything you can even imagine. It's just terrifying to think that there are men in the world who would think it would be reasonable now. It's probably pretty reasonable that we shut this stretch of beach down due to government issues, and then call the family over. He made a statement, I get so little time to spend with my family. As if we're going to, sob for the guy. Oh, poor Chris. Poor King Christie. The king and his, all the king's horses and all the king's men or whatever. It's a terrible thing. And it brings me to the topic of kings in general. And I've had this incredible distaste in my mouth for the word and for the idea, because I see it a lot of places, and sometimes my son says it cloyingly, about being king, or you joke about it, he's the king of this, king of that. And I realized that the word king is just a disgusting word. It's never good. It's never a good thing. There's never good that comes from being king. It's a terrifying thing and a terrible thing. And I want you to wrap your head around that, because King Christie, he needs to be booted. He needs to be gone. That is a clear, it's like a czar move. You know what I mean? It's a total dictatorial move, entitled move. And I feel like there have to be grounds for getting someone like that out of there, and we set a precedent if we don't. If we allow this big fat man to kick everyone off the beach and then spend time there, not only do we breed animosity in the state, right? We breed so much animosity in the state. Because the people that he represents are probably like, what is going on? King Christie's got to go. You know, love it or hate it. It is what it is. I didn't expect anything great from the man. He kind of was always he always looked like a king to me. You put a white wig on that fatty, and what do you see? You see a king. He's a king. He wants to be a king. He doesn't want to even fake that he doesn't like power. That's what he wants. That's what he is. That's what he is. So you say power to the people. Power to the people. Let the people make the decisions, man. This is the conundrum in American society today. The conundrum in American society today is let the people make the decisions, man. And that's mixed with the poor performance of the current kings in our world, right? And how much they're failing at what they're doing. And you look at places like Illinois, you look at a place like Connecticut. And like I said, I really like these state stories, these state profiles of what's happening to a state like Connecticut. There's a mass exodus in Connecticut. People are leaving. Businesses are leaving. Corporations are leaving. Aetna has left Hartford. Hartford, Connecticut, the best quote I could find on it. It's an insurance mecca, or it was an insurance mecca. And one writer called it America's filing cabinet. I really liked that. I thought that was a good line. But America's filing cabinet is emptying now. The documents are moving. And with them, so are the jobs. And with them, so are the high influence, high earning, highly influential people. They're going away. They're going away. They're moving away from Hartford and other places. You know, Connecticut being the richest state in the Union. The richest state in the Union has a 2-year budget that will fall short about $1.5 billion. Yeah, with a B, with a B. A 2-year budget shortfall of $1.5 billion. I mean, think about how extravagant that is and what that means. The housing prices in Connecticut have been stagnant. Stagnant. A lot of people underwater. A lot of people over their heads in mortgages in Connecticut. And it's due in large part to the fact that the jobs are changing. Right? The high paying positions are giving way to more low wage positions. This is just an evolving economy. There's another really great story too about Connecticut. Because what Connecticut did is they poached some of the top people in New York. They headhunted them. And they brought them to a more appealing suburban style environment. You know, they built Hartford with some of these great high-level players that were poached right out of Manhattan. And they showed them, you know, what was possible outside of the concrete jungle of Manhattan. And in a way, they put a hurting on New York a little bit with that. But they built an economy around it. They built something powerful there in Connecticut. And from that moment, maybe their clock was ticking as well. You know, maybe their clock was ticking ever since they headhunted their own economy for Connecticut. And of course, the same old issues are being straddled by the left and the right. Not enough taxes, too much taxes. You know, not enough freedom, not enough free market, too much, not enough regulations. You know how it goes, the arguments. Basically, it's the left blaming the right and the right blaming the left, and the middle class is taking the body blows at the end of the day, right? The head of the left and the head of the right, they weave. They bob and they weave real good. So what any great boxer does when he can't hit an opponent because of how fast he is or how agile he is, how he can slip punches or move, they take a page from the great Julio Cesar Chavez. They start digging body punches because it's a much larger target, right? They start digging lefts and rights, shovels to the body. They start trying to get that liver shot. And in all these actions, right, in all these states like Illinois where you see the left parrying the right slipping the left, not right and left punches, I'm talking about right and left politically. If you can follow the analogy, you foolish idiots, you. I'm kidding. The left slipping the right and the right parrying the left, you find out that it's always the middle class who catches the body shots. Right? The middle class is the body. It's the core. And they take the hits. And what happens to a boxer when they absorb enough blows to the body is they grow weary, they grow tired, they start to get cramps. You get physical cramps if you get hit in the body enough. Dehydration sets in, that type, not from the body shots, but from the physical exertion. And before you know it, the pain is just terrible. Right? Continual body shots over a long period of time. It slows you down. It brings on incredible pain. And before you know it, the fighter quits. And that's why we're seeing an explosion in government subsidized human life. We're seeing an explosion in dependency in the nation. That's because we're bringing people in from nations that can't talk, right? They can't speak English, so how you get a job? It's impossible. Or you can get a job, but you're not going to make any money. Let's be honest, right? There's no top-level CEOs that come into a nation and can't speak the language and then expect to do business in that nation. And the story's the same in Connecticut, right? These jobs where you can make a good living, the pool is shrinking, and the prospective pool is growing, right? The people coming out of college, coming out ready to make big salaries, big dreams, big families, big money, big prizes for all their work. They wind up stuck in a middle class, low class paying job. They buy into a house in a neighborhood where people are running out of the state, fleeing empty homes. So then your property value goes down. It's going to happen more and more. This is why I'm talking about these states right now, because this is something that's going to happen more and more. And to me, it is about as pressing a topic as any other. I don't really care about what Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have to say to one another. I just don't care about it. It doesn't really make me excited at all. I'm not really, am I supposed to be like amazed they're going to say some things to one another that are going to change my life? What are they going to do? What is Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump going to say to one another that's going to change your life? Anything? Are they going to affect the way your boss treats you, or going to affect the way that your business works? It's not going to happen. They're going to be cordial at the G20, do their thing, and go about their business. I'm not laying in wake, right? I'm not on Twitter with bated breath. I'm not sitting watching CNN like some kind of drone. It's not happening. I've spent years and years reading and learning and writing and experiencing life. And I just can't get into that jet stream. I can't jump into that jet stream with the majority of people who are getting likes and retweets and shares and follows, and because they're talking about things that are just absolutely mind-numbingly boring. Mind-numbingly boring. Handshake. Did you see the handshake? The handshake was the best. Oh, God. It's tough to have faith for a world like this. It really is sometimes. But it is what it is. We're going to come back. I got to go get my hair cut. I've got a big event this weekend. I'll tell you about it when we get back. And thanks for everything to the new listeners. Keep coming. If you enjoy this style of talk, if you enjoy what this is about, this type of show, I'm always going to bring you information that's exciting to me. One thing I can guarantee you, I'm always going to bring you content and topics that are exciting to me. Whether or not they're exciting to you, not really my top concern. But if you like what I like, if you're into what I'm into, if you're into success, if you're into enlightenment, if you're into treating your body well, if you're into winning at the game of life, and no, that's not always financial, but if you're into winning at the game of life, then I think you'll enjoy the I Am Liberty show. All right? So we'll be right back after this. JWWrites.com. Are you launching a survival blog? Do you have a preparedness product or service that you want to get to market? Use jwwrites.com and we'll create unique content for you written by yours truly. This is my freelance website. You've come to know me. Trust me. Visit jwwrites.com for your survival and preparedness freelance writing needs. I do infographics, white papers, ebooks. Visit jwwrites.com. In the gym this morning. Well, actually, it was this afternoon. I didn't really get in there till about 12 o'clock in the gym is just such a beautiful time on a Saturday, right? It was squats today. It was bench press today. It was rows, bent over rows today with the barbell. I threw some pull-ups in there, some dips, and a little core work, and had a great workout. Ran a couple miles in the beginning. I always run a couple miles in the beginning. I really don't know why. I don't have some, incredible philosophical reason why I do it. If I'm doing strength training, a lot of times I'll cut it down to 1 mile depending on how I feel, because it does 2 miles is not a lot, but I'll tell you what, it affects things. It definitely does. When you get underneath that barbell, it affects things. And I've been putting a lot more time into free weights, seeing a lot bigger gains than ever before, and I think your body really likes being under those heavy loads. I think your muscles do. You get strength response a lot better. That's just what I've come to notice. Pull-ups, body weight pull-ups, you get a good response from that also. And what I did is I went and grabbed a playlist of my old band from high school. It was my old band in high school. We were called Defilement. And I was listening to it, because every once in a while I go back and I listen to it. The music's not bad. If you're into, I guess it would be kind of like a nu metal style meets some death metal type of thing, you might enjoy Defilement. And I can get you the songs if you're interested. If you listen to the I Am Liberty show, send me an email, iamlibertyshow@gmail.com, or direct message me on Twitter if you're looking for something to listen to at the gym. You could listen to Defilement. You could listen to me at 15 years old, screaming into a microphone. And if you liked Mudvayne, if you liked Machine Head, if you liked Pantera, if you liked that kind of stuff growing up, what else? No, that kind of scene, then you will probably enjoy Defilement. I mean, we weren't bad for a bunch of teenagers. We played several live shows. We had a ball, okay? We had a great time. And what it brought into mind was the fact that I'd spent nearly all of my life in expression in one way or another. And I really, as I'm running 2 miles, which I do it on a track inside sometimes, and the track is so small that if you don't listen to something and think about something while you're doing it, if you don't go deep into thought, you could possibly lose your mind on a 2 mile run. The laps are so small. I think it's about, it's 32 laps around this tiny track for 2 miles. So needless to say, my 2 mile time is pathetic because I spend half of it turning left or right. But I'm sitting there thinking about this idea of expression, right? And I started to put the links of the chain together in my own life, and I realized that the whole of my life has almost been expression in one form or another. I was singing at a very young age, Michael Jackson, dancing, that type of thing, obsessed. Just obsessed with it. And I really did start to enjoy it. That went away for a little while. You know, got into sports, started playing guns, that kind of thing you do when you're a kid. But I always remember going down in the basement, putting a Boyz II Men tape on, dancing. Expression. You know what I mean? I remember drawing. I always have been writing. I've always been writing. My whole life I've been writing. Winning awards for writing when I was just a wee one. You know what I mean? Always been writing. Expression. And I started to realize, you know, I always look at my life for clues and stuff because, believe it or not, I've lived a life at 30 years old it's just been tremendous. It's just been, I have such satisfaction in the life that I've lived. It's amazing to me. It's amazing that it's real. There's a lot of times I have trouble dealing with the fact that this is all real. I'm not loaded down with money. You know, I don't live in a big giant house. I don't have the foibles of what most people consider success, but I met an amazing woman at a very young age who changed my life. You know, I have always been successful in whatever it is I've tried, if I really gave it my all. It's just those things, you know, those things. And I've always been, even when I had trouble as a youngster, even when I had emotional setbacks, and even when I struggled with, you know, what it is to be a teenager. One of the ways that I have had such success throughout my whole entire life, and I'm telling you this because I know there's people who are struggling in life, is through expression. Now, for those of you who are waiting to hear about deserving, I think we're going to cut deserving out and we're going to do expression instead. We are going to talk deserving in the future. But this idea of expression is very important to me today, and I want to, while it's important and while I'm passionate about it, I'd like to get it to you. We are going to touch on deserving. Maybe it'll be on the next podcast, and we'll talk about the Sabbath, and we'll talk about this idea of a deserved rest, right? And a deserved break, and a deserved something. Now, I went from self-expression as a solo player, right? In my own room, in my own basement, with behind my own guitar, to finding friends and beginning to play and beginning to express myself in that way, right? And then, of course, you have the way you dress, you have the way you talk, you have the bands that you listen to, the music. It's all a matter of self-expression, but I got to do it at such a high level, at such a young age. You know, when you have the ability, we didn't do cover. We weren't a cover band ever. You know what I mean? We were people, little kids from 12 years old. I remember meeting one of the drummer of my band I met in 6th grade, Walter Jones. I met him in 6th grade. And we played up in his room. We played his drum set, sung a little bit. We got guitars later on. And always from the get-go, we had been writing lyrics and playing music. You know, and of course we were stealing music from one time or another, based on being inspired and just being kids and not really understanding what we were doing altogether. Writing riffs that sound oddly similar to the riffs that we enjoy, that type of thing. But we were still doing things. I was probably about 14 years old when we made our first CD. Right? I think up through about 16, 17 when we fell apart, the band fell apart. But all through that, we were playing shows in our neighborhood. You know, we had people who would come up, show up at these shows in mass, parents, girlfriends, ex-girl, the whole thing. People who were moshing and hitting each other and, going crazy in the audience. And at that age, when you are crippled by your emotions and your hormones, to have the ability, to have the outlet, right? To have the outlet to express yourself through lyrics and through music, and to have people absorb it and go wild over it. It changes everything. It really puts you into a great place. You realize my problems are not unique. You realize these people understand what I'm going through. You realize, and then just the wholesale idea of me talking about this, screaming about this through a microphone. And it was that journey that led me to this. I hungered for that expression. There's no getting around it. I spent some years where I was behind a stove in the back of the house working as a dedicated chef for many years. You know, that was the next thing I wanted to conquer. And I didn't really feel a dimness in me. I created a blog, I started writing on the blog, and I was expressing. I always had an outlet. And I'm telling you this because I think it's a crucial part of dealing with this life. I think expressing yourself. I mean, look at the explosion in social media. What is that? If that's not the expression of yourself, then what else is it? You know, people take it and they don't use it for expression of themselves because they've latched onto this idea that they have to be successful. That's the big issue. You know, when you write dark, screamy, cryy, whiny music like we did when we were growing up, you're allowed to be honest. You're allowed to be real because that's what this music is about. It's about screaming about problems and wrongdoings and letdowns and pain, girlfriends cheating on you, leaving you. You know what I mean? All that. And what I found is that, you know, social media has kind of devolved a bit, and it's gone from people being able to express themselves to people putting up this facade of what their life is. And you never really get a true picture of what their life actually is. But that expression, man, is so crucial. And some people do it in different ways. You know, you don't have to get up on a stage to express yourself. Some people do it through sports. My wife, constantly playing sports, and that's her expression. You know, that's the expression of what she's all about, what she enjoys, what she's great at. So listening to the old Defilement record, sitting there struggling through those reps of squats. I wasn't doing much weight today. It wasn't a big weight day, but it's Saturday. I did 6 workouts this week, and you get tired. You know, I mean, after a while, you get tired. It's just natural. And struggling through all that, you know, I started to think to myself, man, the importance of inspiration. And the importance, even more so, of expression. The importance of expression for the human. And what a powerful thing it is. And you look at those people who don't get expression, and a lot of times there's some of the worst people out there who are doing terrible things to get attention. Why? Because they're looking to express themselves. That's exactly what it is. They're looking to express themselves. They're trying to find a way to express their anger and their emotions. A lot of people say that America's a tough place to live right now because some people lots of people get handed a tough deck of cards or whatever it is. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think it's the deck. I don't think it's the hand. You know, it's not the hand that you're dealt. It's what you do with the hand. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Or it's how you deal with the hand. As a young father, for a long time, I thought that what I was supposed to do as a father was to protect my children from everything. I thought as a dad, my duty is to assure that nothing bad happens to my children. That's what I thought. I really honestly did think that for a while. And then you come to the conclusion, based on your own life, that they have to get hurt. They have to be hurt physically. They have to be hurt emotionally. They have to be brought to the bottom of the deepest, darkest pits in order to crawl out. And in order to build a character that made you who you are. By protecting your children from everything, you really are hindering them. You're not letting them develop into what they can be. So I needed another answer because I'm the type of guy who wants answers, you know. So now, okay, I'm not supposed to be the great protector. That doesn't make sense, right? I obviously protect them from physical harm when they're unable to protect themselves, you know, at the young age. But the idea that you can protect them from being bullied at school, protect them from having hardships, protecting them from having struggles with reading or writing or whatever it is, you come to the realization that, this is not my job. This is not my job, and if I go overboard with this, then I'm really only hurting them. I'm really only hurting them because one day they're going to be gone from my side, and they're going to have to deal with life. So I've changed my stance on all this, and I've thought to myself, the better move. What's the better? The better move is to give them the weapons. You know, you don't act as the shield. You are more like a blacksmith, right? You make the weapons. You give them the weapons to deal with what's coming. And when you have children who are capable of dealing with the hardships of life, then you have created people. Then you've created people who will be successful and people who will survive this thing. You have created people that won't wind up outside of Berkeley setting fires, right? You will create people who can withstand what life brings. Because it's going to bring pain. It's going to bring horror. It's going to bring agony. It's going to bring death. That's life. That's everyone's life. All that happens in everyone's life. I've had a great 30 years on this planet, 31 years, and I've seen all of that. I've seen all of that, and I've conquered all of that, and I want my kids to see it all too. They have to have the pain. Don't you get it? This is for my young parents out there in the audience. They have to have the pain. They have to have the struggle. They have to have the hard times of life. They have to be forged, man. They have to be forged. And that's what will make them great. That's what will make them stand the test of time. That's what will make them successful in life. I've never achieved anything great in life based on how well I slept on a pillow and relaxed. You know? I've never strove to any greatness in life based on how well I relaxed. Based on how... You know, you don't pull from those easy days. You pull from those hard days when you're in trouble. You tell yourself, I've been through this fire before. I've been through this fire, but I can walk these coals. I've been here before. And that's the reality of it. And one of the biggest tools you can give them, I'll bring it all back home, bring it all back to the start, is the ability for them to what? Listening audience, are you paying attention or you fall asleep? Is this life talk boring you? One of the greatest tools you can give them is the tool of expression, of self-expression. Because they'll be able to dig themselves out of a hole, no matter how deep it is, if they have the ability to express themselves. Whether that means talking to mom and dad, whether that means going upstairs and playing the guitar for an hour straight. Loud, right? Loud and distorted. Whether that means screaming into a microphone, whether that means sitting in the darkness of their room under the glow of a computer screen and writing a poem, writing a book, writing a novel, whatever it is. You pour your depression and your anger and your trouble into these things. And they give you something back too, you know. So we've gone a little deep for 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. I'm going to call the wife up and see if she wants me to bring her a Coke home. And I hope you guys enjoy yourself. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I'll be live Wednesday on the Prepper Broadcasting Network, www.prepperbroadcasting.com. Join the live chat, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the resource run this week. I've got a big article on my website about it, IamLibertyShow.com. The resource run. The loadout. What do you need? What kind of tools should you bring? What are we talking about when I say the resource run? I'm talking about in a post-apocalyptic scenario. I'm talking about a collapse scenario. I'm talking a post-disaster scenario where you come to the conclusion that you need something. Do you know where to get the things you need around your neighborhood? If businesses are abandoned, if the normal routes of communication are shut down, how will you get what you need? Well, you're going to have to get out there on 2 feet and go get it. And I'm going to tell you how to plan this out, how to put together a map of resources so that you know where the things are that you might need. Then we're going to talk about going and getting it and getting back home safe. So that's it for the I Am Liberty Show, folks. I'm going to be at the Hampton Roads Convention Center next Sunday, right? Or by the time you get, next Sunday. It'll be July 16th. I'll be coming on stage at 1 p.m. and talking about community preparedness. I'll be talking about the Reroute USA movement and what you can do. What you can do today to start bringing your community together and preparing it for the good times and the bad. All right? Thanks so much for listening. New listeners, old listeners, fresh listeners, stale listeners. I'll talk to you guys later. It's James Walton with the I Am Liberty Show.